Let's talk about video games because this week is kind of a big deal if you're into gaming. You have the Xbox Series S and X launching, I believe, tomorrow. And on Thursday, I believe the PlayStation 5 comes out. So this is a pretty big week. I always find console launches exciting. I know that the PC is honestly the better platform, but I still get kind of excited when consoles come out. So there should be a lot of news this week on these, and we can talk about the launches and stuff. So I'm looking forward to this. It should be a nice change of pace, to be honest. I want to start here. I got a couple articles to go over. I want to start with this one. Video game prices are going up for the first time in 15 years. We all know that. They're going to $70, and I know a lot of people aren't happy about it. But there's one piece of news in this Bloomberg article that's pretty interesting. Check this out. Inside publishing houses, a price hike has been plotted and dissected by executives for years. They point to inflation as well as the ballooning cost to develop AAA games as justification. At one point, Sony discussed going even higher before settling on $70. Many of the game executives requested anonymity, apparently because they recognize the move is unpopular. Well, yeah, well, you know. In many cases, companies won't acknowledge the fee increase, saying only that prices will vary by title. They're all going up to $70. The interesting thing, though, that I wanted to point out is that Sony was all about going higher than $70, which would set a standard. So if Sony does it, everyone would follow suit. And the beautiful thing about that is everyone can just blame Sony. But I wonder, what kind of price point were they thinking for games? Now, knowing Sony, I bet you that they were thinking like $100 or something. But I can't prove that. Just wanted to point that out because, well, we're going to get into Japan and the new consoles, which I've talked about a few times. And Sony, it's been pretty clear to me, has been giving up on Japan. But let's start here just to get things on a more level playing field. And that's that Nintendo is likely going to remain the king of Japan. The Switch is huge over there, right? But I don't know if you count Nintendo. The Switch is, and I love that system, so don't get me wrong. They don't get all of the games. They get a lot of games, but all the big AAA games, they don't make it over there often. So to me, it's always PC, Xbox, or PlayStation when it comes to the big titles. And as far as the PlayStation goes, they're losing a lot of ground in Japan. Now, they still have the lead right now, but things are changing. And I've covered this quite a few times when it comes to anime games. You have a lot of games that are just skipping the platform. And they don't want to deal with the censorship. Ever since they moved their offices to California, you could tell something was going on. They even did that recent thing where they changed from the enter button to X when it was circle over in Japan. And a lot of people in Japan lost their minds over that. They're very upset. That's just a small thing that shows you that they're kind of, they're taking that market for granted and they're not really trying. The PlayStation 4 only sold 10 million copies or 10 million units in Japan, which is pretty low when you consider that they sold 113 million, at least they're citing Sony here, worldwide. That's a very small amount. Like, it seems like Japan is just not into console gaming as much anymore. But then I think, and I question that because the Switch is extremely popular over there. They seem to like handheld gaming. I know the DSs did well over there. The Vita did very well over there. They seem to be more interested. And then I know they play a lot of cell phone games over there. But consoles, they've been kind of just giving up on as far as the people. I don't know why that is. I don't know what's going on. But Xbox is making a big push over there. There's really good information in this article. They take a lot of stuff from the Bloomberg article. I want to go over just some of it right now because they actually talked to insiders at the PlayStation headquarters in California. And they put a lot of the blame on the marketing team in Japan and say, well, they failed to sell a lot of consoles. I don't know if I would put a lot of that blame on the marketing team. There's something, the trend's obviously moving away from consoles over there. I'm not sure why, but it does seem to be the case over there. A senior figure inside PlayStation headquarters, who did not wish to be named, told Bloomberg of their frustrations of the Japanese marketing team failing to sell more PlayStation 4 units. According to several employees of PlayStation Japan, this resulted in the Japanese office being, in Bloomberg's words, sidelined when it came to planning the promotion of the PlayStation 5. Employees from Tokyo told Bloomberg they have been waiting for instructions. Former employees also told Bloomberg that the Japanese developer support teams have been reduced by a third from their peak, with rolling contracts not being renewed at Japan studio. Now, if that's the Japan studio I'm thinking of, that's the company that makes Demon's Souls, Bloodborne, stuff like that. So that's pretty worrisome. That's a good studio. Employees from the California headquarters told Bloomberg that the U.S. office believes, in Bloomberg's words, the PlayStation business doesn't need games that only do well in Japan. And if you think about that, that kind of lines up with a lot of the stuff that I've covered. Games like Galgun, you have like games like in the Dead or Alive style where you can see a little bit too much chest on a lady, a little bit too much thigh. A lot of that stuff is strucken down, but they'll let stuff like The Last of Us Part 2 come out with Abby. You can show that whole package, but an anime girl that's a little bit more voluptuous and juicy thick, that's gotta go. It's all kind of starting to make sense if you think about it. This is a really good interview that they got here. I wish they would have got a little bit more information, but this really does line up with a lot of the stuff that we've been discussing here on this channel. So they're not interested in games that only do well in Japan, and that's unfortunate. That's games like Yakuza and so on and so on. And those games do have an audience over here, and that audience does grow little by little. And just giving them the finger, to me, is just a dumb idea. Now, this is where Xbox is gaining ground because they're grabbing up those studios, which you don't even have to do anything to please them. You just have to not censor their stuff. And the result of that is you see a lot of these anime-styled games, these Japanese-only games, you see them coming out over here in the West, but you see them coming out on Switch, PC, and Xbox only. There's been like 3 occasions now where a Japanese game doesn't go to the PlayStation 4. And with that, probably not going to the PlayStation 5 either. So here's another quote from a consultant and their predictions on PlayStation's future in Japan. Many PlayStation 4 owners in Japan would eventually move to the PlayStation 5, but that would largely depend on how strong the PlayStation team in Tokyo will be in pushing the needs of the Japanese customer to the American headquarters. Considering the current power balance between the U.S. and Japan, I can't expect much, unfortunately. And they go on to talk about some other stuff in there about how a lot of the retailers over in Japan aren't getting as many units back when they need to restock and so on and so on. But here's the big thing that Bloomberg really brought up, that Microsoft is setting their sights on Sony's home turf in game console clash. And they talk about them acquiring studios. There's one thing that Microsoft seems like they're not interested in doing anything naturally in growing studios. They just want to buy everything. We saw that with Bethesda. That was a huge grab. I wonder if they're just going to go in there and buy everything up in Japan and lock Sony out in some ways. Could you imagine if they buy up all the big studios? Like, I wonder if they would buy Capcom, Konami, all of them over in Japan and just put them under their umbrella. That would be a huge hit to Sony, and I think they might do it. There was already a rumor, I think, that they might buy Capcom. Sega was a big one, though I think Sega just sold their arcade business. There's some weird stuff going on with Sega, but I really wonder if they're going to go in there and buy some Japanese studios up, because I think they want that market. It wouldn't be so much a market gain, really, because I don't know what's going on with the consoles over there. Obviously, the Xbox Series S is going to be what they push there due to the size of it. But them grabbing Japan, and if they could somehow take that market from Sony, it would be a very big symbolic win, more so than the money they would gain from it. Taking Japan from Sony, there's a lot of symbolism there, like kind of like a bragging rights, because that's like, the birth of gaming. Maybe that's just my opinion, but I think that they really want that market, and it's just another jump they can do over Sony. Microsoft's hungry, and they got cash to spend, a little bit more than Sony does. So this is going to be an interesting market to watch, and I really am wondering where we're going to be in a year or two, because you got to think about it. 10 million units is not that much compared to 119 worldwide for Sony when it comes to the PlayStation. 113 seems really low, doesn't it? Then that's only citing Sony, by the way. So I wonder what's going to happen here, and I'm very, very interested, because this would be a very huge win for Microsoft, because they've never done very well over in Japan, and this is already the Xbox Series S and X are already shaping up to have a lot of potential over there, and I've covered that before as well. So we'll see what happens. What do you think? Do you think they can actually do it? Do you think they can take the Japanese market from Sony? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you would throw a like up, share the video, make sure you still subscribe. Subscribe if you're new, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out.